Welcome back to Marriage or Hell No. Bro, we got an interesting video to cover here today on the channel. And once again, our brother Kevin Samuels is back at it with a good video. And this is, in my opinion, one of Kevin Samuels' best interviews since he did a one probably about maybe 8 to 9 months ago with a young lady from Houston. And I want to shout out to Kevin for this video because I really think it's timely and it's a good video. One thing that this video will uncover, and we're going to react to it on the channel, is how Kevin has to deal with all types of different women who have these stereotypes in their minds that are absolutely asinine. And we're going to be talking about and reacting to this video Kevin Samuels did with this young lady. And this video is not really to bash this young lady, or it's just not to bash this young lady at all. But what we are going to see is that so many young women are now infected with these lies and these notions that, modern feminism has really taken over their brains and told them, instead of having firsthand accounts from their fathers and how it infects their minds and their belief systems, and the lack of accountability that you will hear in this interview. And Kevin's just going to point out to this woman about certain things that she doesn't really know what she's speaking to, but we're going to see a beautiful young woman and hopefully look at lessons about, hey, fellas, no matter how attractive a woman is, if she demonstrates certain qualities, she's kind of off the table for us. But without further ado, we're going to get into the video. And I want to say, thank you guys for subscribing to the channel, but let's get into it right now.
Down of the nuclear family. The majority of responsibility lies, the breakdown of the nuclear family in the Black community. The majority of the responsibility lies upon the Black man or the Black woman.
The breakdown, as far as the structure, as far as like the leadership?
The dissolution, the breakup, ma'am. I'm not going to give you any specifics. It's the general question.
Okay, I would say the Black man.
Thank you. And this is where this woman, this feminist stuff, at 21 years old, with no real thoughts of training, this is what we get. When you just say 50, the breakdown of the Black family, we have an almost 60% divorce rate in this country, okay, in our Black community. Black women marry at a rate out of 26%, 1 in 4. So 3 out of 4 Black women will never marry in their lifetime. So 1 out of 4 will marry. The average Black marriage lasts 5 years. So when we get to that 60% divorce rate of these few Black marriages that Black women and Black men are in, what percentage of divorces are filed by Black women?
I have heard you say this. I don't know the percentage, but majority.
The majority. So when you look at the breakdown of the family, who's filing for divorce?
The women.
Well, then that's who's that's who's responsible. The person that leaves. The number one cause of divorce is filing for divorce. If you have 80% of the children being born to motherless, fatherless homes, that's women deciding to have children before they have the benefit of marriage.
So where is this coming from, though? Like, why is a whole group of women perpetuating this behavior? Like, it seems ridiculous. Obviously, it's ridiculous. We see the women come onto your podcast.
Why do you think it is, ma'am? Because women have freedom.
Because
women have freedom. Black women have freedom. Black women have freedom, and Black women have freedom. And they have been freed from the Black men because in 1965, the Great Society came along. And guess what? Black women were given the option.
That's what I was trying to get to. But then,
but you don't know. But you weren't even out anyway.
I know.
I'm going to stop it right there. And the reason why I let that play on is the one thing that Kevin Samuels does on his broadcast that nobody gives this man credit for is that you have to have a remarkable amount of patience as a man to go through what he goes through on these interviews. And here we have a young lady who starts her video off. She's very attractive. Nobody's going to doubt that. But one thing that you see is that as you look at this woman, you go from looking at her attraction to her talking. then you get to put her in the hell no category. And I'm going to tell you why as we go along here. But Kevin is simply asking her certain questions. Now, being that she's 21 years old, she's obviously not going to have a ton of relationship experience. And when you go on here, you will start to find out that her mindset has been influenced by her mother, modern feminism, and her ideas of what men are, but not her actual experience of what they are. And then we're presented with all the facts, statistics, data points in the world that tell her something contrary. She'll still come back around to what it is that she believes about black men, but not take accountability for what it is that black women do. And that's one thing that Kevin does remarkably well. And we have to give him credit for that, is starting that conversation. Now let's get back into it.
Then why are you asking, ma'am? Then why are you asking? Then if you know, if you know that, then you know why the breakdown of the black family happened. Women chose government assistance, government benefits over a man in the house.
But at the same
No,
time,
do you not know that?
I know that.
Okay,
And
then
I
how
feel
can you say that black men are responsible if you know that one fact?
well, no, not that they're responsible, that maybe that they were used in that moment.
No, they weren't you. See, again, that's bullshit. There we go again. Nope, absolutely not. There we go again with that. Black women were used. Black, you're talking about adults.
No,
They
not
made
black
their,
women.
they made black. So
That's
black women. So how were they? So they're not
no,
responsible.
I was saying that maybe black men were used in the same scheme of the government that handed government assistance to black women.
Black women had a choice.
At the same time that
Black women had a choice.
our
Black
community,
women. Black women had
black
a choice.
cocaine had entered
Black
our
women had a
community.
choice. Black women had a choice. This is the modern feminist. This is a pro black feminist. Black. This is your problem. This is what black men are not dating. As cute as she is, it's a wrap.
You heard the facts right there. And as you hear it, and I'm going to link the actual video down in the description because, like I said, this is one of Kevin Samuel's best interviews. Like, I would probably say in his top 4 because she's very young, she's very attractive. But one thing you will discover is she's very impressionable. So, this type of woman, what she does is she presents herself in these viewpoints that she actually has not experienced. But when you go back and watch this, you will hear that this woman doesn't really know her father. You saw so often, it's when you're trying to make that decision of trying to get to this point and then trying to build here, if there are fundamental breakdowns that happen when you are here, one thing that will be affected is naturally your daughter. So one thing we'll see in this interview is that she really has an account of what her father is really through her mother's eyes. So go back and watch it. But one thing that Kevin is saying is too many women use excuses about systematic things that have happened. Yes, we know that those go on, especially how it affects our community, but we cannot let that be the driving cause when there was choice. And if you chose to say, you know what, I'd rather have money than my man. These are things that women before you did not choose. Prior to the 60s, some people would even say go back to the 30s. Women in the early 1900s would say they would rather have their man than government assistance. And when presented with that viewpoint, you're going to always hear so many modern women, especially within our community, deflect. What they should do is say, okay, how can we change this going forward? And that's what will start the conversation. But too often times, these women put up walls and barriers and make up every excuse in the world not to accept responsibility. And we're starting to see that with younger black women who haven't even experienced these things, but are now growing up to develop an excuse in a victim culture. So let's keep it going.
This is what black men are having to deal with. This is what they're having to deal with. A bunch of useless knowledge going to a feminist ideal. This is what was proper. This is what's going on. So many colleges, I'm glad I took this call because you older ladies want to see what you wrought. Women of my generation, this is the product. 21 years old. This is the product. Generation X, this is your dog. Putting the ask, who would you hold responsible for the breakdown of the black family? And even knowing the Great Society and the Monahan Report, she still puts it to black men. This is that color purpling of the black community. This is why so many black men are tired. You're talking to yourself. Now you can go ahead and you can't overtalk me.
Oh, I was on mute. I didn't.
Yeah, because you're not going to overtalk me. That's the thing. Because I don't mute you, but you're not going to. I have to start raising my voice. I know you could hear me, right?
I tend to do that. It's just like happens.
So you tend to be rude.
It's not that I try to be rude. I'm just very like spontaneous, impulsive, not spontaneous, impulsive at times.
Do you have a job? Do you have a job?
I haven't worked since COVID. I've been trading in this foreign exchange market.
Okay. Do you do that when your manager's talking? When you had a job?
When I had a job. I'm sorry. What's the question?
When you had a job, did you just overtalk your employer?
Prior to COVID, I had worked for myself for 2 years, driving DoorDash deliveries, and I worked for myself, so I never really cared to have a boss, and that's why I'm pursuing entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Cat's out the bag now. And what I mean by that, let's be clear. All right. So the interview started off, and that's why I said this is one of Kevin Samuels. I'm definitely gonna have to name this shit like Kevin Samuels top 5 interviews, because what actually happened here is Kevin Samuels interviews this woman who is 21 years old, probably has no college debt because I don't think she went to college. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe she went to college, so she has no debt. But as she starts talking, you come to hear these lack of accountabilities, and then oh man, is she like 2 steps away from trying to be a boss babe and all of that type of stuff. So just notches going down, but I want to be able to point that out here to the community. But damn, this is what happens so many times within the community, and Kevin was spot on with this one. But let's keep it going, and it gets worse, gentlemen.
This is all bad.
Is it bad?
Yep, all bad, all bad.
So where do?
Because, ma'am, you cannot like it, but the reality is you cannot keep deflecting and not putting responsibility for the fracture of the black family everywhere else other than with black people.
Mm-hmm.
And if who is choosing today to have children without marriage in the freest, no Jim Crow, no segregation, none of that stuff, 80% choosing, knowing all the facts, the data, statistics. Children tend to do better in a nuclear parent household. We know these facts, right?
That's 100%.
Then why are black women still choosing to have children outside of the bonds of marriage at an 8 out of 10 rate? Why do you think black women are doing that?
I think that black women are reacting kind of unconsciously from trauma. There's a word for this. It's cognitive dissonance, where
bullshit.
I mean, but
it's called bullshit.
It's the only explanation.
It's called bullshit.
It's the only explanation.
It's called bullshit. Yep. And this is why I do what I do. Black women are always the victim. Obsidian calls them the victim queens.
Telling you, he really went in on this one. And for people out there that don't really know what cognitive dissonance is, best way to describe it is a person that goes out there and smokes every day, but they know that smoking will absolutely kill them, but they just keep passing through that wall of, I just got to smoke, but the doctors already told them that they keep smoking, they're going to die. That's when cognitive dissonance sets in. I'm just kind of giving you a roundabout way to explain it, but he also talks about the victimhood nature. Fellas, you know that this stuff presents itself within the community, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to date a victim. And what she is talking about is This girl, imagine going to an employer, right? You going into an interview, and the job is probably going to pay you at least around $75,000 or more. You go in there and they start asking you about your previous work history and kind of going through the jobs that you've been through. You start naming the fact that you've been a victim at all your jobs and they had to let you go. You really think that that employer is really going to want to keep you because you have victimhood syndrome? You hear that in corporate America all the time. Nobody wants a victim, but at the end of the day, the choices are always there. But this young lady, she absolutely has a chance to turn this around. And I want to say shout out to Kevin for doing this, because hopefully this young woman will learn a lesson, or she has the ability to learn a lesson at a very early age and take a different approach than what she has been told this far in her young life. Maybe learning and accepting responsibility and accountability for what it is that she believes. But then there's an element to where, if you really watch the interview, she probably should take the next step and learn more about her father from her father.
They're never responsible. It's always somebody else's fault. Cognitive dissonance, racism, white supremacy, Jim Crow, Mr. did it, color purple. It's always somebody else's fault. How do you build anything? Gentlemen, avoid women who think like that. You're not going to change them. You don't try to save them. Avoid them. Don't be rude to them. Don't be mean to them. The worst thing you can do is get into a relationship and reproduce with a woman who thinks like that.
Fellas, you really learned an important lesson in watching this interview. Some of these women just have these ideas in their head, and they're starting to get younger and younger. But one thing that we're starting to notice is that as long as the conversation is being had and we're able to identify these issues, hopefully a young woman like this still has the ability to turn it around. But I'm showing you guys this video because a woman can go from being very attractive, young, that we love, well, young, a younger woman. We like women that we know women's primes are probably around 18 to 28 for most of us, right? So she has the ability to learn something at a young age to say, look, my ideas of what I thought were wrong, Kevin had this talk with me. Now I can do the work into going to try to improve myself, because the way she presented herself, in 10 minutes later, we already thinking hell nah. And Kevin has just said it right then and there, taught us a very important lesson. A woman like that, you are absolutely not going to change, no matter how good she is, how good looking you think she is. And it's sad to see that so many women think like that. But if you avoid these types of women, then you will know that she is not the woman to go down this path with you and then hopefully do this one day. So until the next time, marriage or hell nah. We out.